Am I the asshole? For not serving my bill before the children, causing a huge family fight. There is a little context needed here, so I'm just gonna start with that. I am the oldest of 7, with ages ranging from 1831. 6 of us have partners married. 4 of us have a combined 13 children, aging between 2 months and 12 years. Our father is still alive, but our mother passed away a year ago. We are a pretty traditional family in which women stay home to tend to the home and men go out to work. While we have a family ranch where most of us live on the property and we all pitch in, we also have a weekly family dinner at Dad's house. I do have to say, because I know someone will bring it up, no, we are not Mormon. Now that that's out of the way, I have a new brother-in-law, Dan AITA. Dan and my sister just recently came back from their honeymoon and have started coming to the family dinners. Dan, being the great family man he is, refused to come to any of them before marriage. I'm not 100 sure why, and I never really cared to know. I can't say I really ever liked him, but he had never done anything to cause it. So, our last family dinner. We don't put all of the food on the table. We have multiple tables, so instead, we fix everyone's plates in the kitchen, and everyone comes and grabs it as it's fixed. As such, we always fix the kids' plates first. The first time Dan saw this, he seemed kind of put off by it but didn't say anything. The second time it happened, he spoke up and voiced his frustrations, saying the men slave away in the heat all day so they should be served first, that they were hungry. My dad asked him why would a grown man need to eat before his family got fed first. This quickly spiraled into an argument after emotions ran high. At one point, I finally yelled for everyone to shut up and sit down before telling Dan that until he was the one serving the food, the kids would eat first, and if I had my way, he would be served last at every family event again. The dinner ended pretty quickly after, but now I'm starting to wonder if I should have just fixed him a plate to end the argument. No, Op. You should not have just fixed him a plate to end the argument. Dan shouldn't have started the argument in the first place, especially at your dad's house, when your dad has already told him to quit it. Your response was the right one, including telling Dan that if you had your way, he'd be served last at every family event. Not the asshole. 13 kids under 12, and he wants to feed them last. We always feed the sharks, the kids before getting food for ourselves if we want to eat in peace. Not the asshole. Answer. We always fix the kids' plates first. Your family meal, your family's tradition. Bill is a guest, and new to the family needs to show some respect. He sounds like an entitled, misogynistic, Not the asshole sounds like someone left their mind back in the Puritan age. Slave away in the heat. I'd love to know if he even works outside. He needs to stop acting like a big baby unless that's his motivating for making a case to be fed first with all the other kids. Absolutely not the asshole. Individual families do things differently. But I've never been to a family gathering where the kids weren't served first. Point being, when you're at your house, you do things how you like, but when you're at someone else's house, you've got to be a real asshole to demand things be done the way you want them done. No one wants drama with family, but sometimes a wake-up call is necessary, and it seems like he was in need of a wake-up call. P.S. Love that your dad was team kids. Not the asshole sounds like Dan doesn't have kids. Nobody eats if the kids are hungry. The kids make sure of it for people who don't know. If someone is hungry and complaining, I toss them a fruit so they shut the fuck up. Children, old folk, woman, man. That's the order. Not the asshole. Even your dad shut down his misogyny. Why should you give in to keep the peace? Your Bill should learn how to behave properly in someone else's home. Women are not required to serve men when they have their own 2 hands and legs. I am wondering how a man of such traditional manly values dared argue with the family patriarch. Next time he starts anything, your father needs to tell him to sit down and shut up. He's the head of the family, and what he says goes here. Not the asshole. Dan had no right to come into a situation that everyone else was comfortable with and demand it change to suit him. If he had concerns, he can discuss them with the other adults at a separate time. Instead, he behaved like the biggest baby in the room. You were right to put him in his place. Not the asshole. Every family meal was the same in my home. The kids were served first, my wife was next, then myself. I always made sure everyone was taken care of first, so no one would go hungry. I knew men who felt the opposite, like Dan, who were only worried about themselves. Those men have no problem watching their family starve cause they are self-serving egomaniacs. Dan will learn that his behavior has now earned himself a smaller portion of food, with no chance of seconds. Not the asshole. For such a family man, he's more self-centered than family-centered. Your dad nailed it on the head right away. Your sister has a tough road ahead. Good luck. Not the asshole. I think you have the title incorrect. Is my BIL tough for throwing a tantrum in front of everyone because children served their food first? Not the asshole. Always shut down sexist bullshit as soon as it crops up. It's good that your dad got involved on your side. Keep an eye out for your sister, because this behavior is likely 10 times worse at her house. Honestly, the first time I read this, I read that you told him he was now serving the food. Honestly, next dinner he should be in charge of cooking and serving the meal, and you can focus on something else. No, you shouldn't have just fixed him a plate, just yo keep peace. Traditional or not, he needs to get his head back into the 21st century. Also, kudos to your dad for thinking of the kids first. I like that. Not the asshole. Dan is brand new and an interloper and is pretty bold to demand being served first. Your dad, who is the head of the household, said his piece, and that should have been enough. If Dan mentions it again, tell him that since he is being childish, he can be served first with the children since it's so important to him, but also tell him he absolutely has to sit at the kids' table for the meal. If he wants to sit at the adult table, he can wait for his food with the rest of the grown-ups.